Well, hello, and a very warm welcome to this LinkedIn Live conversation. I see we've got a number of people attending live, by the way. So thank you very much for attending live. Do remember you can add comments in the chat, as some of you are already doing. Now, this is an espresso style LinkedIn Live chat. So we'll be aiming to do about 15 minutes of chat, although we might overrun a little bit. You never know. And but we'll try and bring in any comments that you had. I can bring them up on the screen, but I'm watching like 100 things at once. If I don't bring your comment up, please don't be offended. So I'm really pleased today to have Mindy with us. So welcome, Mindy. Thank you very much for being here. And your topic at the Building Business Capability Conference really resonated with me on the agenda, because it's practical AI tips for product requirement documents. And we hear so much about AI, we hear so much about product, and sometimes it's very lofty conversations. And I know you're a very practical person, you're very experienced, and so I think it'd be great to sort of hear some more of that practical take. And so if we jump straight in, right, one of the things in your abstract was very much about like basic prompts and how basic prompting can fail, and we probably all kind of know that. But tell me a bit about, why do basic prompts fail?
Basic prompts get basic answers. I mean, that's all there is to it. And the work comes from our experience, our intelligence, our thoughtfulness. And so if we have thoughtful questions, we get thoughtful answers. But you also want to be simple at the same time and straightforward. And that's where our art of being a business analyst and talking with anyone, it's like a stakeholder. You want to talk to a stakeholder, talk to the AI. We need to keep it basic, but we need to keep it thoughtful and intelligent and pointed at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. So basic prompts get basic results. It's kind of like the old cliche, but it's very true, right? It's like garbage in, garbage out, right? So actually, if you don't put any thought into a prompt, then you're not going to get very much sort of use out of it. So tell me about the whole product product requirements document element to it. So like, how have you been using, or like what breadth of things have you been using AI for?
Okay. So first thing I discovered back in the day when I was discovering all this is I'd been doing a product requirements document all along. I just didn't know what it was called. All right. And so this is just kind of bringing this to the forefront of, we're all writing product requirements document. Terminology is a big deal, letting us know what the professional name is and how we all use it and to what end, and so that was the first part of discovery for me. And then figuring out how to work with the AI to evolve it, to understand it, has been part of my journey with the AI as well. And so this actually also got started because I was attending some technical webinars, seminars, actual hacking hours, not a full day, but it was a vibe coding with a technical group. And they use context files. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. And so the technical group calls it context files. And that's what we're doing with the product requirements document, is giving it context for our work. So that's the product requirements.
That's really interesting. And as you were talking there, I was thinking about the importance of context. And it's really interesting, as I was talking about garbage in, garbage out. Someone was literally typing that in the chat as I was saying it. So there's something about great minds thinking alike, or something like that. So yeah, and so that idea of context is really interesting. And I think about techniques that are like context diagrams, right, which are really useful to get a sense, but also the context of what's happening out there. And you mentioned context files. So can you tell us a little bit about what the developers are using? What does a context file look like in that context?
I could say it in terms of what they're using it for, and then I'll make the analogy to what product requirements is. Context file says, I want to create this application. We hear about developers going, I want to create this app. And now with vibe coding with an AI, I can do it in one night. I can get it started in one night. They can get something up and running, get a proof of concept. And that blows my mind, right? That is just brilliant that they can do that. But what they do is they say in the context file, like, here's my goal, here's my objective.
Yep.
Sounds familiar. That's exactly what's in the product requirements document. I'm like, I get this. I don't have to be a tech hack to do this. Product, so you get the objective, the goals. I would add stakeholders in there. They might not, because they are the end-all be-all stakeholder. And then they would say what they want their code to do. And I would say, here's the features of what I want this product or this feature list. It could be a feature document as well as a product document, depending on what level of scope we want. And so we feed it into the AI. And as we work with the AI to evolve what we understand with the product, then we add more to our context file product requirements document, the PRD. And I'm going to go and go off and talk with my stakeholders and evolve what I know about it, just like I do my work today. I'm going to fill out more of this PRD, and then I'm going to start a new session with the AI, or continue the old session and go, hey, I use Claude. So, hey, Claude, forget what you knew, but here's the same vein, here's an updated PRD. Let's work with that, answer some questions, dig into some features, and go forth. Whereas they would say, I need to evolve this technical code in the vibe coding, and they would want to add a feature into their product maybe. So we're just adding more in and refining it as we go.
That really resonates with what you're saying there, Mindy, and how it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Where you've got that iteration, and that information is being used slightly differently by different, by the tech team versus the product team. But actually, it's fundamentally the same. Context is context, right?
Yes.
And I love what you said there about they might not put stakeholders in, but you would. And actually, the output of adding that is going to be a net positive, right? Because the model is going to understand more about what it's developing or what it's prototyping at that stage.
Exactly. Now they might include a few stakeholders, but I want to talk the business analyst speak about all the stakeholders. Whereas, they'll put in like 2 or 3. I realized, they were doing it light. It was just an afternoon, but we want to include even the help desk. I want to include the people who are going to maintain this after, we get it developed. I want to talk about legal, and it's going to it brought up, and in one example I was doing, it brought up legal before I could even bring up legal because of the situation I gave it. So it knows about stakeholders and how important it is. And I could even, I've worked as a BA on my own before, and it's really hard, right? So AI is my co-BA, my intern, to say, hey, I know I need to talk about stakeholders. I need to know what to talk to that stakeholder about versus the other stakeholder. And I can bang some ideas back and forth, and then go into the stakeholder conversation and learn more, and then update the PRD and, circle around.
Yeah, so that's really interesting as well, because that reminds me of something I was doing just the other day, actually, which is essentially putting a hypothetical situation and saying, how do you think a compliance manager would see this, and how do you think a head of marketing would see this? Because I wanted to shape it. I didn't want to go in with something which would be completely crazy, and I wanted just to get that kind of second view. So you've got those multiple perspectives. I mean, I built a lot of context into this thing. So really, really interesting. So you got context used by technical teams, context files. You got PRDs, which are like a facsimile of that in a different way. So one of the things you mentioned in your abstract for your BBC, your Building Business Capability conference presentation, is around a cheat sheet. And don't we all love a cheat sheet? So tell us a bit more about what that is, what's on it, and any hints you can give us.
So the PRD has some standard parts to it and how it evolves. And so as we go through the session, I don't know how much connectivity we're going to have, but I'm going to show some interaction with the AI and how we build up the PRD. We have the basic template that we could start with, but then there's going to be decision points where we go, which way do we go with the PRD? And then how can we get there faster? What is the cheat codes that we're going to use to work with the AI, get some information out of it faster and more easy, keep it simple at the same time, because this isn't complex. This is having a conversation with an AI and then with real people. So I'm going to keep it simple, but yet move the conversation forward. And the PRD, there's some tricks of the trade to making it useful and getting information into it to make it even more useful the next time.
That constant iteration and reflection.
Yeah.
I love what you said earlier about actually also highlighting which stakeholder you need to go and ask some more, almost like the tool almost going, have you thought of this? It's kind of like having that brainstorming partner, right? So
so helpful to have a brainstorming partner when I'm the only person around. It's just
So one of our viewers, and depending on the settings, people's names don't always come up. But they have put that Maven.com has a lot of interesting courses and lightning lessons. I've not used that. I don't know whether you have, Mindy, but but I will be checking out now. So thank you very much for adding that comment on there. Give us as we sort of get to the last 3 minutes of the session, what kind of actionable tip or tips could you give us for using AI in a PRD context?
Okay, so for example, I was going in with electronic signature many years ago before AI, and I was like, what is this? So literally, I would today ask, hey, Claude, what is electronic signature? How is it different than any other signature, like digital signature? So ask, what is the feature? What is this product? Even though you might have an idea, don't let on to the AI. Let it tell you, and then you can guide the conversation by, it's going to ask a bunch of questions at the end of its statement. It always does, right? And so you can say, oh, I know this, this, and that. What else? And then ask the next question. Ask it the simplest thing possible in a simple way. Don't do the jargon. Because the more jargon you give it, the more jargon it's going to get and come back with. And that doesn't sound like you. You want it to sound more like you. So you talk in your voice to it, and it will talk more in your voice back to you. And then you can navigate the direction of the conversation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I love that about keeping it really concise and simple and plain. We've got a question pop up. Just quickly, did you make it into a skill or a set of skills for Claude? Were you using skills within Claude?
I don't know what that means, set of skills. I'm sorry. There's no skills needed except your business and analyst skills.
Okay.
Really, just do you ask questions? Do you love to ask questions? Do you love to dig into different topics and different features and learn more about this how things work? Really?
Yeah, definitely. And we've also got Claire mentioning that Angela Wick, of course, who we both know, and I hugely respect Angela, as I'm sure you do, does some stuff on BA Cube around AI courses and so on as well. So do definitely check those out. And apparently Angela has lessons on Maven, which I didn't know. I know she does have lessons on LinkedIn, LinkedIn Learning. So fantastic. So without giving too much away, what will people get from attending your session at BBC? And I will attempt to put the agenda on the screen while you answer this, so I will be multitasking.
So we're gonna. I always have to have a couple slides on the using the ethics of AI. I just get a couple slides. I won't get deep, but I'm always happy to talk about the ethics and bias of it. Making sure we're all on the same page as what the AI is and what the PRD is, and then most of it is about the cheat sheet codes that we'll dive into about how we can break down the PRD and what are some ways to get to that information quicker, faster with the AI conversations. It's get to the information faster and smarter, because we got to use the AI as a tool. If we're going to direct an intern to help us, we have to help it navigate where to go. It needs help. So that's most of what the presentation is going to be on.
Fantastic. And finally,
Yeah.
because I know like you and I have met at conferences before, and
Mhm.
so what would you say, like for anyone thinking of attending BBC or a business analysis conference generally? So the building business capabilities in Toronto, which may be convenient for some and not others, but like,
Mhm.
what do you think people get from attending BBC or a flagship conference like it?
So a lot of the times we'll dive in either during our sessions or we'll contact attendees outside of our sessions and we'll talk about real problems people are having. And so if I'm talking about agile and using Scrum or whatnot, then someone says, "Oh, can I talk to you later at lunch or whatnot?" And I got to tell you, all those speakers that you are highlighting right there are very approachable outside of their session as well. I mean, we're
100%.
hanging around because we want to talk to people and get to know people, find out what problems you're having today, give you, share what I've learned. I might have a problem you could help me with as well. I'm not the end all be all. I know what I know, and I'm here to talk about PRDs and AI. But I might learn something from you as well. So I just want everyone to know that everyone's approachable and
Yep.
relatable. And I just love those hallway conversations as much as learning in the sessions themselves.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to drop the conference link into the chat for anyone who might be
Great.
interested in taking a look at that as well. So,
Mhm.
excellent. Well, Mindy, thank you so much for taking the time to
Yeah.
have this chat. We could continue for hours and hours, and in fact, we probably will when I see you at the
When I see
conference
you.
probably over some form of beer or other drink. So. Yeah, and thank you for everyone who has attended live or indeed has watched the recording. Final question for you, Mindy. If people want to like stay in touch, connect with you outside of like generally, is LinkedIn a good place to drop your line?
Absolutely. Yeah, my LinkedIn is under my name, Mindy Bohannon, and always happy to connect and have a conversation. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, excellent. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for attending live, everyone, and see you soon. So, bye for now.
Bye.